courts to get the process stopped. Nick Gargan was this afternoon formally approved and will take over on March the 1st.
It's hoped his arrival will keep the peace at Avon and Somerset Police following the current Chief Constable's run-in with his Commissioner. In a moment, we'll have an interview with the new man, but first, here's our Home Affairs correspondent, Steve Brodie.
When Chief Constable-elect Nick Gargan and Sue Mountstevens arrived at the council offices in Clevedon, it marked the end of a rough ride, especially for her. The selection process was threatened when current Chief Constable Colin Port mounted a legal challenge to the decision by the Commissioner to open up his job for interview, as he only had weeks left on his current contract. But a High Court judge rejected all of his claims. And today Mr Port sent out an email to staff announcing details of his retirement party. Panel members quizzed the high-flying candidate on a wide range of topics. He said he would look into demands for more police in South Somerset. He likes PCSOs. And he's had lots of experience of emergencies and big crowds. And panel members wanted to know for sure he was in for the long haul.
What I didn't want was somebody who was clearly here for a short term and then going on to what he might see as a career move somewhere else. Whilst you want people to be ambitious, I actually am passionate about Avon and Somerset myself, and I want somebody to come here that's as passionate about it as I am.
After the upset since her election culminating in the High Court battle with Colin Port, Commissioner Sue Mountstevens was delighted with the approval of her choice as Chief Constable.
He is an inspirational leader. You can see from his past record how well he's done, and operationally very sound, 20 years of operational knowledge, and being the Chief Exec and the Chief Constable of the NPIA, National Policing Improvement Agency, you can see he has real depth.
He worked on the inquiry into the death of Princess Diana and gave evidence at her inquest. One of his first jobs will be to recruit young officers on a starting salary of £19,000. Following the £4,000 cut announced by the government.
I feel quite frustrated actually. Being a late joiner myself, you've got to look at this and think, can somebody with a young family, a wife and kids, actually afford to join the police service? It will rule out a lot of good quality candidates.
Mr Gargan is due to take up his post on March the 1st. Steve Brodie, BBC Points West, Clevedon.
Well, a little earlier, I spoke to Nick Gargan and asked him what the people of Avon and Somerset could expect from him.
I think they can expect a lot of hard work and common sense as I try and steer Avon and Somerset Constabulary through some difficult times ahead. The need to continue the excellent work that's gone before me in reductions of crime and improvements in service, whilst operating in a financial climate that's not going to get any easier.
Now, you come from the National Policing Improvement Agency. Many of our viewers may not have heard of that. Does that sort of indicate that you're a sort of systems and admin man rather than an old-fashioned copper?
Well, I spent the last 3 years in a big agency that delivers support to policing and has been helping policing to cope with the challenges of the current financial climate. But before that, I've been in operational policing for over 20 years as a Gold Commander in charge of serious operations, the policing of the Reading Festival, Royal Ascot, Premiership football matches, as well as a senior investigator who's investigated the most serious crime. I've got a pretty broad operational portfolio. It's just the last 3 years have been spent in a national role, which I think has been very useful and which will finish off my preparation for such an important role as this.
You are taking over at a tricky time. The outgoing Chief Constable is leaving because he couldn't get on with the new Police Commissioner. How are you going to manage that relationship?
Well, every indication so far is that the Police and Crime Commissioner and I have a very, very closely shared vision of what needs doing here. I think her priorities are eminently sensible, and I think her approach to working with me is one that's going to give me every chance to succeed. I've no qualms, no doubts. That's not to say that we won't sometimes disagree on things, and neither is it going to be easy sometimes working out precisely the demarcation line between our roles. Me as the operational lead for Avon and Somerset Constabulary, the person in operational command of the force, and her as the person who holds me to account, the person who's been democratically elected by the people. But with goodwill and common sense and hard work, I'm sure we'll be able to do a good job together.
Chief Constable Designate, thank you very much indeed.
The Bristol Rovers chairman's described it as the biggest day in the club's history. This evening, councillors will vote on whether to allow a supermarket to be built on the club's current ground, the Memorial Stadium. If they say yes, Rovers will finally be able to move to a